All right. Welcome everyone to Women in Data's Trinidad and Tobago chapters monthly speaker series. We are very honored today to have Dr. Ann Ingram speak at our presentation. I just want to give you a little bit of background on Dr. Ingram. She was born and raised in Kingston, Jamaica. She currently resides in Puyallup. I know I messed that. Puyallup, okay, Washington. Dr. Ingram is an experienced leader in healthcare information technology and informatics with over 15 years of health information technology consulting. She holds a PhD in business administration with specialization in the management of engineering and technology, as well as a master's in business administration, emphasis in information systems. Her doctoral dissertation was a phenomenological study focused on the adoption of the electronic health record system by psychiatrists and psychiatric ARNPs in a community behavioral health organization. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Dr. Ingram and thank her for her participation today.
Thank you, Blair. Thank you, everybody. My goodness, it's such an honor to have this opportunity to speak with you all. And I just hope that the information I share will be inspiring. One of the things you need to know about me is that in addition to be a healthcare IT leader and business owner, I'm also an evangelist. So some of that may come through. And one of the things that I do on the weekends, once a month at least, is I do teachings. And I try to incorporate my business experience along with biblical principles. So I say that because most recently I've been teaching on strategic foresight and really asking God, show me what's coming, what's the future. And so when I put together this presentation, I came with that in mind. You know, how can I impart some of my knowledge that I have specifically around innovative technology like blockchain, and then see how it intersects with what you do as data scientists. And that's the title, Blockchain and Data Science, Borderless Innovations, right? This innovation of blockchain, and I don't know right now how much you know about blockchain, and hopefully I can give you enough information to get familiar with it if you have not had prior exposure. But blockchain as a technology, one of the assets of it is to reduce interoperability gap and to remove borders. Right? So when I look at the integration between blockchain and data, really crossing borders, whether it be geographical or otherwise technology borders, and I look at it as a passport to the future. So the presentation is not technical, it's really, hopefully, visionary, and really, hopefully, should give insight and maybe some strategic foresight that you can think about. How can you leverage this information, right, to plan for your future and to envision next steps? So in the presentation, we talk about today a little bit about what is blockchain, a high-level description of that. Again, the borderless innovations, the intersection between blockchain, IoT, the Internet of Things, AI, artificial intelligence, and data science. There are dependencies there, okay? And then the passport to the future, looking at the 4th and 5th generation of technology and this revolution that we're in. And then I have, as a part of my conclusion, a call to action for us. So what is blockchain? Blockchain is a type of or distributed ledger. It's really a database, and it's a database of transactions. And there are different types of distributed ledger technology. Blockchain is just one of them, okay? Blockchain really, really promotes data transparency. So in the work that you do as data scientists, being concerned with the validity and the transparency of data, blockchain is truly an enabler. Blockchain has 4 building blocks to it. As I said before, it's a shared ledger or a database and distributed. It really promotes privacy because of the cryptographic nature of it. Blockchains can either be permissioned or permissionless. If it's permissionless, it's what we call a public blockchain. Examples of that are Bitcoin and Ethereum. So if you heard about cryptocurrency, you hear about Bitcoin. Bitcoin runs on a permissionless public blockchain. Blockchain, like I mentioned, is also private and requires permission. And we'll go a little bit more explanation in the next couple of 2 slides to give a little bit more clarity to these terminologies. Examples of a permissioned or a private blockchain includes Hyperledger Fabric, which was created by the Linux Foundation. Blockchain also, and core to blockchain, is what we call smart contracts. Basically, they're coded contractual terms. So for example, if an organization has a business associate agreement, you can build that in a smart contract to help with the execution and exchange of data according to the terms of the business associate agreement. Okay, and then the factor of trust. One of the core stabilizers of blockchain and an enabler is that because of the tamper-proofness, right? Tamper-resistant and tamper-proofness. They used to use the term immutability, and that's being changed a little bit to now really focus on explaining it as a tamper-resistant technology. It really helps to promote trust within a system, especially in this trustless environment that we have in business. So again, 4 core aspects of blockchain. It's a distributed shared ledger / database. It can be public or private. Smart contracts is a functionality that is used and core to the technology. And then trust is a huge multiplier and enforcer for and supporter for blockchain technology. Examples here of the difference between a public ledger blockchain or database and a private. So just some examples on from access, networking, tokenization, you'll hear that term also, security. For access, like I said, the public permissionless is open to anyone, versus if it's a private or permitted or permissioned, you have to have access based on invitation only, okay, as an example. So I'm not going to go through each of these examples here, but again, just to kind of give you a little bit more clarity in between the difference. Security is a big concern, especially when we talk about data, and especially when we talk about data in the healthcare field that I work in, and also finances, right? Having a secure network and secure architecture for your data is critical. So the difference between the public and the private blockchain related to security. There has to be a proof. There's either a proof of work or stake in the public example, or a proof of authority in the private example. And you can do more research on this if you really want to dive deeper into it. So blockchain and data science, to me, it's a love affair made in heaven, okay? And so both blockchain and data sciences are really transforming our current industries. You hear the term disrupting. I don't like to use that term because it gives a negative connotation when they say I'm disrupting the industry. It doesn't promote for decision makers and stakeholders to want to adopt the technology. blockchain and data science is really a transformative agents, right? Which hopefully will bring more harmony to our industries by better enabling interoperability. So as you know, for data sciences, you harness data for strategic functions, strategic purposes, and for doing, like, for example, predictive analysis. Where does blockchain fit in? Blockchain helps by ensuring there's trust in that data integrity is in place. And so, as the slide says here, data scientists are now relying more and more on the authentication that blockchain does to help to track data and to really ensure that there is an accountability of the data sovereignty, right? Where that data came from, how trustworthy it is, whether or not it can be hacked, which the blockchain technology in its core nature helps to prevent that. Like I mentioned, the immutability or the tamper-proofness of it. So really and truly, like I said, blockchain and data sciences, a marriage made in heaven. The graphic on the left really gives some good insight as to some of the benefits of the blockchain technology. Again, better transparency to your data, the enhanced security, as I mentioned, true traceability, especially if you're into forensics, data forensics, to be able to leverage blockchain for that traceability and that accountability, I think would be a true benefit to a data scientist or a data engineer. So there's several uses right now, examples, and there are use cases, hundreds and hundreds of use cases. I just highlighted a few areas where right now the technology, blockchain, and the distributed applications that are associated with it are really transforming our society. You know, I think about us as scientists, we are truly transformers, right? We're true innovators, we're true influencers, okay? And whether you be in the Caribbean or in America or wherever you are in the world, to have the power to influence is where true power lies. And the reason I say that is because I was thinking, I heard most recently, I think it was Tyler Perry, I don't want to misstate this, but the person stated that the real power to influence is really not in front of the camera, it's behind the cameras, right? Behind the cameras. So in your data science world, as a scientist, where does your true power to influence lie? Understanding that data, being able to leverage that data strategically. And again, where can you leverage that information and combining technology? So blockchain is transforming society in trade, in healthcare, in music, even in voting. And so I pulled a couple of headliners from our current US publications, and Forbes magazine is one where both Utah and Arizona are leveraging blockchain for voting purposes. So there's successes happening, right? And just think, with every utilization of the blockchain technology and other innovative technology, data is being generated that you can leverage in your area of influence, right? So again, the borderless innovation and the intersection between blockchain, IoT, right, Internet of Things, AI, artificial intelligence, and data science. And I love William Deming, right? In God we trust, but all others must bring data. Data, well, it could lie depending on the source, right? But again, if you have trustworthy technology that is supporting and enabling the data like blockchain, which again, that transparency as a positive thing, feature and function, right? Being able to have the sovereignty of that data, the traceability of it, you can trust your data more. So blockchain, AI, IoT, all overlap to generate and to provide a transport or a utilization of data. So from a business focus, right, your mission and your goal as a data scientist is to, again, harness that data, strategically use it to provide value and strategy to your leadership, your decision makers, your stakeholders, and overall for the business to get that focused insight. Again, leveraging the technologies. And I really see, you know, as we look into the future and even currently where we are right now, just so much opportunities. I don't know if you've had a chance to participate in any AI development or engage in providing data so that machine learning can happen or artificial intelligence can leverage that data that you have to be able to, again, be predictive and also to provide that insight, right? So again, the AI, blockchain, and data science integration all revolve around data and business decisions. It's a perfect fit, these three technologies, again, to help you to be invaluable from a data insight and then that actionable intelligence. And as the slide says, data is the new natural resource. There's financial value there, okay? Blockchain will make big data more valuable. Why? Because the blockchain technology, the core functionalities of it, will ensure data quality and to be able to address those 7 V's of big data, right? Value. What benefit is being received based on the data? And again, having trustworthy data hopefully should increase the value of the data. The volume of data that you are receiving now, that systems are receiving now because of all the integrations that's happening, right? You have all these sensors from your watches, from blood pressure cuffs, from, you know, heart monitors, everything feeding data. A lot of times these data are in silos, right? So when you go to do your analysis, you may be hampered. The blockchain technology, if implemented, can help to bridge that gap and reduce those gaps, and therefore help you to create that full, robust data lake, right, that you can pull from and do your analysis. Big data and blockchain, very fruitful relationships. So as you're thinking about, you know, your work that you do, or if you're a business owner who are focused on analytics, how fruitful, how can you leverage this information to help you to be more fruitful, right? That relationship, again, security, transparency, the decentralization, the flexibility of the technology is important. And my conclusion for this slide says, whatever data comes out of the blockchain is valuable because it has already been cleaned. And I've got my quotation marks around clean, the cleanliness of it, right? I think you understand there's more to it than what's stated here. But one thing that it does ensure is the proof of fraud, right? Or the resistance that it presents to someone who may be trying to tamper with that data. And at the end, I'd like to hear from you, if you've considered this or encountered, and what does this really mean to you to have that accessibility of a marriage of those two technologies, right? To have that valuable fraud-proof prevention built in to your data, okay? So as you know, data feeds AI. In order for the machine learning to happen, it needs a lot of data, okay, to continuously improve itself. So AI plus the blockchain, which allows, again, that encrypting of that data storage and having that distributed ledger, having that interoperability so that data is not in silos, putting all of that together, as I mentioned before, again, really, really bolsters the potential within your data. Data, as you know, is key to the AI algorithms, okay? And the blockchain technology secures that data and allows for auditing and that forensic assurance that you could have with being able to have that traceability built into the blockchain technology. So, as I mentioned, that bridge, blockchain providing that bridge to your data. Blockchain, the center of where artificial intelligence links, where the Internet of Things links, robotics, machine learning, big data, again, aligned with the pure science of data, the data science field. And as an example here, that bottom diagram, when I think about from a healthcare standpoint, right? And even when you think about in the COVID-19 world, contact tracing as an example, you've got all these different contact tracing apps, you've got all this different data coming in from different sources, whether it be clinical trials data, whether it be patient data, all of that. If we're able to collate, right, and merge all that data and integrate all that data through a blockchain platform, what intelligence, what could a dashboard look like? How could that help provider systems, public health, the individual patient from a healthcare standpoint, or if you're in finance or other industries? How powerful is this technology? So our future, and I know I've gone through this very quickly, our future. I think about is, like I said, as I, wrote my presentations for my teachings on the weekend, the strategic foresight. Lord, show me what's happening. There was a tribe in the biblical times by the name of Issachar, and they had an anointing for knowing the times and seasons and also knowing what to do about it. So I applied that even to the secular world, right? My business world. Show me the times and seasons and show me what to do about it. So I think about the advancement and the revolution that we're in right now. So this slide here really presents the historical transformation that we've seen throughout our industry. And, if you think about the opportunities that each of these revolution provided for those who were in the know and those who were in the forefront of the technology, there is financial gain to be had, right? To understanding what's to come and even looking back and seeing what happened, the performance, be able to glean from that. So as I think about our evolution over the different industrial revolution, from the mechanization, right, the invention of the wheel back centuries and centuries and centuries ago, to the industrial and, you know, the engines that we have right now, the automation that we lived through in the 70s, in the 80s it was globalization, and then here we are. We're in the fourth industrial revolution right now, moving into the fifth industrial revolution. So what does that mean to you? You know, a lot of times, and you can agree with me or not, but this is my opinion, as people of color, and I'm Jamaican, you know, a lot of times, and I'm 56 years old, so I was raised, let me see, 1970 time, during the automation, when 64, during the automation, that industrial revolution started. But did I have exposure? Okay, I didn't. We were poor. I remember living in what they call a tenement yard. I remember having outdoor toilets, bathroom. I remember not having a TV. I remember not having a refrigerator. We had a disadvantage, right? Maybe my peers in another part of the world, maybe here in the US or other places, who may have had the exposure, sitting around the dining room table talking about what's the next revolution that's coming and how do we plan for that? How do we invest our monies? What businesses do we need to start? Where do we need to, what type of education do we need to have? Do we need to have a service level education, or do we need to have a technology education? Those things are usually missed by us. So we usually start with a deficit, right? So part of my personal mission and goal, and why I'm so honored when Blair asked me to speak to you all, is to share my heart as a West Indian myself, as a Black woman myself, as a person of vision, because I'm a visionary, as what I'm considering myself a futurist based on what God is showing me. How can I impart this knowledge to at least have my brothers and sisters start thinking, right? How do we get to the forefront? How do we recognize what the next phase, if the world lasts, what the next phase is, and be able to prepare ourselves, okay? So as I mentioned, you know, we are in the fourth industrial revolution right now with the digitization of records, whether it be financial records or healthcare records or otherwise, and then preparing for the fifth industrial revolution, which is really focusing, based on the research that I've been doing, on personalization, okay? So again, just a little bit more information. The fourth industrial revolution, we are here. This is where we live right now, okay? Robotics, AI, augmented reality, blockchain, virtual reality, and on and on and on. So the little arrows I've kind of pointed to within that sphere and that diagram that you're seeing here, where do they fit, right? You see where big data analytics fit. I don't know if you can see my mouse or not, okay? You see where the authentication and fraud detection, this is the blockchain technology, to name a few. The advanced human machine interfacing, okay? The AI, and the IoT, Internet of Things, things plugged into your home, into your bodies, your cell phone, your watches, all feeding data. And like I said, somewhat siloed right now. So my question is, based on what you do, maybe the companies that you work with or for, or if your own company, where can you get some visioning happening and leverage your understanding and expertise in data in some of these areas for the now, right? either in consulting or advising or aggregating that data, presenting that strategic value to an organization, and then helping to guide them to the implementation that's required for success. But I wanted to present this diagram to give you a picture. Where do you fit? Where do your skills fit? How can you find the opportunity in this wheel? Now, so let's talk a little bit about the fifth generation, the fifth revolution. This is where our human nature, our human needs, our human wants, our human characteristics will work closely with machines, okay? AI, the blockchain platform, and the human all coming together. That's the fifth industrial revolution. Blockchain is going to help to facilitate that cross-border interaction. So yes, you're sitting in Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, I'm sitting in America. Yes, Blair is sitting in America. But really with the technology, there are no borders, right? It's interesting that this pandemic has truly demonstrated that. We had to change our thinking and leverage technology to continue to be successful. And that's just internet, basic. Now with the cloud computing and other advanced innovative technology, what are the possibilities? Where are the advantages? Where are the opportunities? Let me maximize this slide a little bit. And I thought this was an interesting diagram that I found. A nice comparison between Industry 4.0 and the transformation to Industry 5.0 and how they align. So Industry 4.0, the focus was on connecting machines, right? All of the digitalization and the connecting, whether it be through APIs or otherwise, right? Connecting those systems together. That transition, now the thinking has to change a little bit. So even when you think about your data analytics and your strategic positioning of the information and the intelligence that you will produce from your data analytics, it's about changing, or first of all, let me back up. It's about understanding that customer experience. So we talk about that personalization being core to Industry 5.0. How can you better improve that customer experience regardless of the industry? So in healthcare, as an example, probably around, I don't know if it's 10 years or so now, maybe less. They came up with the triple aim, and then it became the quadruple aim. So as an example, in healthcare, and I don't know how many people are in healthcare, you have to think about value-based medicine, right? Medicine for value. You didn't just get paid because you performed a task. They had to be value in the testing and the outcomes and all of that. Then there is the quality aspect, right? Okay, so the value-based one, the quality that you provided was 2 of the care that you provided, and 3rd was the patient experience. Okay, data, information, business strategy of delivering care all centered around that initially. Then they added in the 4th, which was now the provider experience. Okay, so right now when I think about a healthcare delivery and I think about the data and the meaningful use of that data, you'll hear that term meaningful use if you're exposed to healthcare, it's still that patient experience and that provider experience are critical to the care delivery and the quality of care, okay? So in thinking about the work that you do and the access that you have to data, and when you look at the analytics behind it and the intel and the dashboard, how are you gleaning from the information, from the data that's coming in from these different sources, right? A lot of different points of data input to really understand and analyze and understand the customer or patient experience and to be able to enhance that. That's a question to ask yourself. In Industry 4.0 is mass customization. That's being changed now to hyper customization. What does Anne, me, require? So I already see it happening because, as an example, it's like I feel sometimes like Facebook or Amazon or Google are reading my mind, because I think about, oh, I need a new bike seat. The next thing I know, I go and I pick up my phone and all of this content is coming about bike seats or bike shorts or bikes. They're aggregating my searches, right? And then they're targeting, making things more personalized for me as the consumer. So that's one level of it, but is there a next level? So maybe in our thinking and thinking futurist, right? The opportunity and understanding the data elements, right? And the metadata behind data. Can I start looking at that a different way to find the opportunity, that next level of personalized, hyper-personalization, hyper-customization, right, to help with marketing, business development, science, research? Just thinking about that. In the fourth industrial revolution, again, intelligent supply chain, now responsive and distributed supply chain. The example, near-term example where there was a failure in supply chain had to do with COVID. Again, COVID to me exposed a lot, both good and bad. So from a supply chain standpoint and the data that you get from a supply chain, right? Volumes, costs, et cetera, how can that become more responsive and predictive? Leveraging the technology and transitioning to this new industrial revolution. For smart products was a thing in Industrial 4.0, and now it's that activative, interactive products, right? As you think about your business and expanding your expertise, what type of products are these? Could these be? Maybe you can glean that information from data that's being fed to you right now in your data lakes and data warehouse. And then last but not least, manpower distance from factory. And in the fourth generation, but in the fifth industrial revolution, it's bringing back manpower back to the factories. But how? And where does next gen technology and innovative technology can help with this factory floor setting, for lack of a better word, factory floor. It may not be a traditional factory. What's possible? So again, my goal is that as you hear me speak and I present this information, think about your experience. Think about you have so much value and power at your fingertips. How can you find that nugget of opportunity for that next generation? This diagram here talks about the top technology enablers for Industry 5.0. You see, blockchain is one of them. You have drones, exoskeletons, additive technology. 5G is the talk. You hear that all the time now, right? Good or bad. And then mixed reality. So as I think about this, I think to myself, where can I find a business opportunity here, or where are there potential investments in these types of technology? Because we recognize that these are going to be enablers for the next industrial revolution, which is right around the corner, not far. Okay. So again, this slide basically just kind of emphasizing what I spoke about, and it's a little bit repetitive, but I wanted to present the information in different ways for it to be more easily digested. So the key thing again for Industry 5.0 is that mass personalization driven by IoT and AI with blockchain as that framework and foundation, okay? And having that hyper personalization where the human touch is being recognized again as being critical. We're sort of back to basics in a certain way, but an enhanced basics, right? We are and will continue to transform the way humans and technology cooperate together. So again, I go back to, it's not a disruption. It should be harmony and cooperation. I was even thinking to myself, I should go back and look at some of those old Star Trek movies and Star Wars movies. Because if you think about it, you know, those of you who are sci-fi lovers and sci-fi geeks like I was, I remember Captain Kirk having the communicator. You remember he used to flip open the communicator. It's a cell phone. Think about it, right? Where they used to walk up to whatever machine it was and say, okay, I'd like, you know, some crab and shrimp, and the plate would just appear. I don't know what it was made of, but I didn't have to cook it. That was a good thing. We are there. The technology's here. Now, I think the one technology, I don't know if I'm gonna be the first to try, is that transporter where your body disappeared, broke up into different, you know, elements and nanos and whatever that it did, and then was transported somewhere else, because I also saw the bad parts of it where you ended up in the middle of some wall or you end up being a blob. So I don't know, but maybe that might be an opportunity for you, right? Who knows? But anyway, just having a little bit of fun. But the whole idea is that we are not far, we're here. So my brothers and sisters, what I'm hoping is that, you know, as you just think about what I've presented here, bring forth into the conversation your own experiences. Data, like it said, it's the new gold, man. It's titanium, platinum, whatever the highest value thing is. And you've got access to, you've got that knowledge about data and how data works and how data integrates. And then the technologies that are currently here and to be developed. So start doing your research. Where do you fit in? Okay. So again, about the customer engagement, that's the focus of 5.0, right? And this slide, I like this slide because it kind of gives you an example, something to compare. Conventional thinking versus that next step for the customer experience. It's going to be all about the individual. And that individual may be a person or it may be an entity, right? I don't think there's a definition here that said if we're talking just an individual person. It may be a corporation. How do you personalize information for that corporation so then they can leverage it for their strategic business purposes? And so my call to action is focus on developing strategies, right? To use data analytics and to drive personalization and customer experience. One of the tools that you could do is what they call having some design thinking sessions, get together, just brainstorm, right? Products, processes, tools, okay? Look at the data that's been fed to you. What is it telling you about some of those processes and products and tools that really someone desires, but it's not invented as yet, or it's not available as yet? And then again, bringing in my spiritual background, we're talking about focus and where do I focus, right? There's seven areas that really drive society: religion, family, education, government, media, arts, and business. Those who hold the tops of those mountains influence society. So in your sphere of influence, I don't know what cities you're in Trinidad and Tobago, how can you enhance your expertise to be a thought leader, to be able to be leaders in those areas, to be able to hold leadership positions? Maybe you're called to the ministry for religion. How can you leverage your skill and your data? Is anyone collecting information about different religious organizations and how they can maybe attract, as a Christian, ministry, how to deliver God's message, right? Discipleship. How do we speak to the new generation who may have a different thought patterns because of the influences outside of the ministry? And sometimes you have to be nimble enough to at least attract attention to bring them in to hear the word of God. Again, just a thought. Family dynamics, not the best in some places. Is there data that needs to be collected or is collected about family and family dynamics that you can leverage to help to create programs, teachings, education to start to influence family dynamics in a more positive way? Education, same thing. Government. Do you hold a position in government? And if so, what is that position? And if the position is not at the top of that mountain, is there a way that you can then start developing your own strategic plan to get there with your God-given talent? Whatever we need to be successful is really in our hands already. And you've got that gold mine, you've got data. How do you use it? How do you create your own so you can get data from places where other people aren't looking? Right? So you can develop your competitive advantage and build a core competence around data elements that maybe nobody wants to spend the time to look at. So again, leverage your technology, leverage your data, leverage blockchain, AI, machine learning, all of that to influence. And that is the end of my presentation. And I just hope that if nothing else, it inspired you to think, to start asking questions of yourselves and others, to get together. You have a powerful group, your Women in Data Sciences. Start having some design thinking sessions.
Thank you so much.
Inside you, Miles Monroe, Miles Monroe talked about the most valuable place or most richest place is the graveyard. Let us not die with what is inside of us. Let's get it out. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anne.
Thank you so much.
That was excellent. And the slides were top notch. I'm going to let everybody know that we are recording this session so that it will be posted on the Women in Data Trinidad and Tobago site. But the slides were excellent. The presentation was excellent. Your knowledge base is excellent. I'm going to open it up for questions. Let me see how much time. We don't have much time till we reach the end of the hour, but if anybody has any questions, you can unmute yourself and feel free to ask.
I have so much to ask, but I just wanted to say how much I appreciated and learned so much. And it's amazing how the futuristic aspect for me was very important. In Trinidad right now, our government is going to digitalize the country. We are not there, so we are really, in a way, we are not there in number 4 yet. We're now starting number 4. But it certainly allows us an opportunity to the fourth industrial revolution. But it gives me an opportunity to even sort of do some research and look at what we are going to be working on now. Because in my work, I do a lot of strategic planning and so on with government organizations. So this has been very helpful for me, and Blair, I really would appreciate the information afterwards. So thank you very, very much.
My pleasure.
So I'm just curious, are you able to speak a bit about blockchain and the possible use in elections? I know we have a big one coming up in the United States in November. I know Trinidad and Tobago just had an election recently. Is there a way to implement blockchain usage within voting to actually protect the vote so that people can do it from home, not even do a mail-in ballot, not even walk to the voting site? But just what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know very much about how they implemented it. You know, you're part of GBA, so you can find out that information. In fact, I think probably Gerard could even put you in contact with, I think she is a senator from Utah who's a GBA member, because they use that in Utah for their, and I think they've done it maybe 2 years now for voting. So if you really want the specifics, I think you reach out, and she was actually at earlier this year, the Money Governance and Law conference in DC. She spoke. So yeah, I think she's pretty accessible. You work at Gerard, he could probably put you in contact.
So GBA, for those who don't know, is the Government Blockchain Association, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, out of Washington, DC. And you can go online, and they have excellent webinars. And you actually spoke this year in January when I met you at the US Capitol, correct? Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a great organization. Any additional questions or comments? We're just happy to hear anything. We're going to finish up in about 3 minutes. Well, I just, I think it's important to, Tati, did you want to say something? I think it's important to bring your perspective, coming from Jamaica, and then, your knowledge of what is taking place in the United States, and looking towards the future for all of us, because as they say, the world is getting smaller, and that's very true. So, so thank you again.
My pleasure.
So much. And thank you all for attending. We appreciate your participation. Every month, like I said, Women in Data Trinidad and Tobago tries to have a speaker series, and we appreciate having all of you here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Other. Did she leave?
I'm here too. I can hear you. Let me just stop the recording.